All right, all right. Good evening, everyone. I am here with Dr. Lisa Marie Lee,
Hello.
uh, and I am Dr. Joseph J. Burt-Miller Jr., and together we're bringing you Docs and Docs. We have two doctors providing insight on the latest documents from both a cybersecurity and HR perspective. So, Dr. Lisa, how are you? It's been
I'm
a
doing
while.
well, Dr. Joseph. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm not sure about those who have T-Mobile accounts are doing
I
and
have
that's actually going to be
doing well. I have T-Mobile and I'm doing well.
yeah. Although we'll see how people are feeling after we're done here tonight. But yeah, but that's actually going to be the focus of our discussion today. The most recent T-Mobile hack, um, and I emphasis on most recent because they've had I guess a checkered past with this. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let me bring this up. All right. All right. So T-Mobile has a cybersecurity problem. So after about half a decade, they still have not been able to get it figured out. T-Mobile disclosed that after their most recent data breach, a threat actor stole the personal information of 37 million current postpaid and prepaid customer accounts through its application programming interfaces or APIs. T-Mobile says it detected malicious activity on 5 January 2023, and the API was exploited for over a month. However, in a public press release, T-Mobile admitted that the breach impacted 37 million accounts and went undetected for over a month. Alternatively, the statement expressed the company had shut it down within 24 hours as soon as its teams identified the issue. T-Mobile has since begun notifying affected customers. So you may be asking, what in the world is an API? I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you. So an API or application programming interface is a software interface or mechanism commonly used by applications or computers to communicate with each other. Typically, online web services utilize APIs so that online apps or external partners can retrieve internal data after passing the correct authentication tokens.
Mm.
So, and and I started out to say, the most recent breach. So this is actually their eighth breach since 2018,
Mhm.
and I have a whole list, documenting each year. So, starting in 2018, attackers gained access to the data of roughly 3% of all T-Mobile customers. 2019, T-Mobile exposed prepaid customer data. March 2020, unknown threat actors accessed T-Mobile employees' email accounts.
Mhm.
December of the same year, unknown threat actors gained access to customer proprietary network information such as phone numbers, call records. Um, Going into February 2021, attackers access an internal T-Mobile application without authorization. August of the same year, hackers brute forced their way through T-Mobile's network after a breach of the carrier's testing environments.
Mhm.
After the breach, the carrier failed to stop the stolen data from being leaked online, even after paying the attackers 270K through a third-party firm.
Mhm.
Uh, and lastly, in April 2022, the Lapsus extortion gang breaches network using stolen credentials. So, given this, you know, let's take a little break here, but already I'm not really thinking too highly of T-Mobile right now.
Mhm.
Um, so the first thing that comes to mind for me is that when you're seeing this repeated action, or they're the victim of repeated breach or cyber attacks, it makes me wonder how maybe seriously they take their security within T-Mobile when considering that they're dealing with customer data, call records, what have you, and also along with that, well, with any carrier, you do have to go through credit checks. So now we talk about social security numbers. You're providing your address. things like that, so you can get the monthly bill and what have you. So there's a lot of information that T-Mobile is responsible for their customers, and then when you hear about a breach like this repeatedly, it's almost every year since 2018. Uh, I think if I was a T-Mobile customer, I would maybe think about looking somewhere else, because I mean, how often are you going to put me through this?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'm newly a T-Mobile customer, so just hearing about all of this, I don't really, it's news to me. I was formerly a Sprint customer, and they officially merged, I want to say 6 months ago. So a lot of this information is pretty new to me. I've heard of other breaches with other company as well, and I've had my fair share of just discontent when it comes with other self-services, which is why I went ahead and went along and stayed with Sprint to move on over to T-Mobile. It's familiar to me, being that I am a veteran. If you don't have T-Mobile, you have Sprint. That's kind of what it was, And I think we spoke about this a little bit earlier, Dr. Joseph. This is really piquing my interest as to how this information is being used. The repeated attacks to me come off as looking for specific information, to use this information for some other type of way, ransom way, espionage way, something of that nature, being that I understand the type of clients that this company works with, mainly government, specifically federal.
right.
It's definitely raising my interest as to what is really going on, especially with the lack of transparency. There's definitely more to it, but allegedly, I'll say allegedly, because I don't know what's going on, but it's definitely more to this story than what we are getting from these articles that are being released, and even how these hackers are going about it. They're changing up their ways, especially if they're able to go unnoticed for a month. It's weird. It's scary. You know what I mean? What are they doing differently that is allowing for them to go unnoticed? I think is the question. As you said and mentioned earlier, these are repeated attacks, almost yearly, right? Almost about yearly, there's been an attack or something going on, especially recently. And they're all through different methods. And I think that that's something from an HR perspective, people right?
Okay, sorry. I lost connection there.
Okay.
So you just came back.
They're
You just came
listening.
back.
No,
Like, stop talking about us.
yes, they're listening. I'm onto something, but no. I feel that there's definitely a reason for this. There's specific information that they're looking for. I don't really think that this information, I think that how they're going about it, one way could be used to cover up another method or another objective for why this is occurring. So over the top, we're seeing, some information of customer information has been leaked, but it's covering up
Right.
something else. You know what I mean? I feel like there's more to it than that, because this is continuous. And given now T-Mobile is, 37 million customers, that's a lot of people. And let's not forget, these customers are businesses,
Yeah.
and who works at these businesses? What are these businesses doing? And when I say businesses, that includes government as well. People don't realize it, but government is an organization. It is the largest conglomerate in the world. Government is, even though it's not viewed that way. It's a conglomerate. So it's definitely scary, the type of information that they're looking for, who or specific people. So I think this is something that T-Mobile should not only look at as far as when it comes from an HR perspective, it's definitely something that's going unchecked internally, whether it's intentional or just, unintentional. And I think it goes a lot deeper than an accidental phishing email or something like that. This is definitely something larger than that, allegedly.
Mhm.
Allegedly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's not a one-off. Like they just do a hack, do a little disruption and move on. They seem to be quite persistent with T-Mobile, and kind of to piggyback off what you said, it almost feels like they're doing some sort of reconnaissance work. Maybe given the as you mentioned, maybe the type of customers that T-Mobile has, and maybe there is some sort of specific information or data that they're looking for or trying to extract from T-Mobile. And when we spoke about this earlier, also I think that is part of the equation. I think another part too on T-Mobile side is that maybe they're not taking their cybersecurity
Mhm.
as seriously as you know we would like them to.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily a surprise with,
No.
as we've learned with a lot of, I'd say, large organizations, companies, or even government entities, when they're the aftermath, when we learn about after such breaches, they're not even exercising the most basic cybersecurity practices.
Yes.
So, which is very surprising. So, it could be part of that too. I think we may learn more about that as we go on, or what they're able to disclose. But definitely, I think that's something you can't rule out, as you mentioned. That it could be something as to why, or maybe just it could be a combination of both. Like T-Mobile is just an easy target, because their cybersecurity is crap. So, I,
Also,
you know,
I'll say, since I'm a customer and just, I know there's this big shift that's going on switching from Sprint to T-Mobile. I do
mhm,
recognize that they are dealing with a lack of manpower to deal with the new large customer base. So there have been
mm,
service issues. So if there's issues on the service side, then there's definitely going to be issues on the monitoring and surveillance side as well. And then if we just be
yeah,
realistic, as we speak about cybersecurity and burnout and things that come along with it, and the lack of retention and even recruitment of individuals wanting to enter into the field, I'm definitely sure that that's something that is also a reason why this is occurring, and then just the
right,
shift of the workforce. And even though people don't want to believe it, we're still in a pandemic. We are still in a
mhm,
pandemic. All of these, I feel like all of these things combined are what's causing this problem. And it's making me wonder, what other companies are dealing with this. And it's just, hasn't been brought public yet. I'm pretty sure that
oh
there's
yeah.
a lot of this going on.
And that's why a lot of these hacks, when we learn about them,
Mhm,
they were first discovered, either months or even a year ago. But they're a lot of these companies, organizations, when they get breached, they're not so quick to publicly announce it, for plenty of reasons, but including that they're trying to save face. They don't want to, to try to maintain reputation, especially if it's something that's repeated. They're not made, they don't want to quickly put it out there. Um, but yeah, it's definitely something that I think we would need to really pay attention to, as with any case. But I think those who, as yourself, are customers of T-Mobile, or if you're thinking about using T-Mobile, maybe that's something to factor in.
mhm,
And that kind of leads me to the next section where we talk about, is T-Mobile safe to use?
mhm.
So Chief Technology Officer for Applied Research at security company Sophos said people could decide whether to stick with T-Mobile after highlighting 5 breaches in 5 years.
Mhm.
Verizon and AT&T have had their share of cyber intrusions, but they pale in comparison to what T-Mobile has encountered. In a recent Securities and Exchange Commission filing and press release, T-Mobile tries to downplay the value of what was stolen,
Mhm.
noting that customers' financial and most private information, including social security numbers, were unaffected. So I did some research and found exactly what was exposed. So the exposed data included names, billing and email addresses, phone numbers, birth dates, T-Mobile account numbers, and information such as the lines on an account and plan features.
Mhm.
So I remember I gave that laundry list of attacks since dating back to 2018. So in 2021, that 2021 cyber attack exposed data from nearly 77 million T-Mobile customer accounts, including names, social security numbers, and driver's license information.
Yeah.
So as a result, T-Mobile agreed both to pay $350 million to settle customer claims and to spend $150 million to enhance its cybersecurity practices and technologies.
Mhm.
So Justin Fear, actually, he's one of my LinkedIn connections. Hi, Justin. Senior vice president, senior vice president for Red Team operations at the AI security company Darktrace, stated, and I quote, "I would argue that we should not dumb that down, adding that such a massive treasure trove of consumer profiles could be of use to everyone from nation state hackers to criminal syndicates." End quote.
Yeah.
So,
I'm leaning
lastly,
towards criminal
mhm.
espionage. That's my theory.
And lastly, just to close, so the best thing consumers can do is harden their security by changing their passwords, enabling two-factor authentication whenever possible, and taking up companies on their offers for free credit monitoring during and after a breach.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, it does. I would say it does affect, I guess, consumer confidence, specifically as we
Yes.
talk
Oh, yeah.
about T-Mobile. Um, but also even I would think even just I guess with any company now, like any
Yeah.
organization that is asking or says that the most sensitive data that is needed, whether to create an account, what have you, or if you think about like your banking accounts, certain things, of course, you can't really get around. You do need to provide, especially when talk about like social security numbers. But the only thing you would just hope that they are doing their part in making sure that they're secure. They're using uh, the best practices to secure your data because
Mhm.
'cause once exposed, that's pretty. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
it's
no
very
coming
easy for
back.
right.
There's no
And
coming back from there. I don't know. I'm chuckling because I feel like I'm always in the middle of some situation like this. I think the most scariest time was when OPM was hacked. And so
yeah,
I just feel like I'm out here naked. And if you want to know about me, you're going to know about me because if they hacked into them, then I'm
right.
not, nothing about me is a secret anymore, and even the VA getting hacked. That's probably why I'm so just another attack. And
No,
that's really sad. It's really
I
sad that I feel that way. That I've
yeah.
become numb to it because I'm constantly being exposed. It's just all I'm used to the monitoring. Me personally, I monitor my stuff all the time. I'm constantly monitoring. I have my alerts. I have all the free service they give away. I have my own service that I pay for.
Mhm,
I monitor my daughter, because she's attached to me. So if I'm leaked, then she's leaked, because I
right.
think through our insurance, health insurance, there was a attack. And so I get service through
Uh,
that now. So it's just, we're in a time
no
cannot
matter where you go. Yeah.
yeah. And so I'm at the point where it's just, let me just keep monitoring my stuff, and I'm with a credit union, so thank God,
Mhm,
I'm not with
which
a
is good.
bank where no one's gonna believe me. And
Yeah.
I think those are the safest things, and then, making sure that I have dope passwords to keep me secure. Don't judge me, Dr. Joseph. I know that we still I've already taken care of that, just so you know.
Okay, good, good, good. No, I think I think that's a great point. As especially when you brought up the OPM hack, I think out of all, I mean, we hear about hacks all the time, of course, but um, I think, but honestly, the OPM hack was the one that really, I'd say, resonated with me the most
Mhm.
because, of course, being government employee, and then like, well, like I think that was the one that really felt real to me.
Yes.
Um, Not to say like these other hacks, they're not real, of
Mhm,
course, but like you said, yeah, I think after a while you start to feel a little numb to it.
mhm.
It's almost like it's part of your daily rundown. Like, oh, so and so got hacked. Okay, like when
Yep.
you're checking the news, it's
Mhm.
like there's really no, uh, I guess, shock value anymore. I think maybe the shock value kind of lies as to how many people were affected, but
Yeah.
the actual notion that a company was hacked, like that you know, doesn't really do anything for me anymore. It's just okay. I just want to know the severity, how
Yeah.
widespread it is. I think that's where I really pay attention to nowadays. But no, I think yeah, we do need to you know try to exercise the best practices. Maybe even do some research. As you mentioned, using a credit union, doing research as to who you do business with. Maybe looking up.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Dr. Joseph, did you freeze? Dr. Joseph, you just froze. He froze. Okay. Well, we'll see if Dr. Joseph comes back. He left, so hopefully he comes back. But I'll just continue talking until he comes back. Hopefully he can come back and there's no issues. But I personally think welcome back.
you know what's funny? So like as you were saying that, they're saying that I was frozen, and then look,
Yeah.
10 seconds later, then you froze on my end, and then you're just frozen. But no, so I was just saying that you know doing research on companies that you are going to do business
Yeah.
with, maybe just kind of thinking twice as to what you share, because also especially if you do have to share very sensitive data, like addresses, social security numbers, what have you. Yeah, maybe just take some time to research, how they handle their cybersecurity,
Mhm.
and hopefully that will help you in your decision making as to whether to choose that company or not, to do
Yes.
business with them.
Yes. I think since we're going along, we were speaking about how you can become numb to this type of terrible tragedy, I like to call it, because
Mhm.
it is a tragedy. It's
Yeah.
horrible. I think even with this, as I was mentioning, I feel that this is different. It's something about it, the continuousness about it. I'm not sure what that means. You know, I feel that since we're only being told that it's minimal information, right? I think if it was like they're hacking into the blockchain and they're stealing texts and nudes and stuff and they're gonna leak it,
Yeah.
I think then most people would be scared, you know.
Yeah.
But since it's not that type of information, or we're assuming it's not that type of information, or maybe it's not our information, but someone else's, but it's something similar to that, and it's being used for some sort of reason, whatever that reason is, allegedly.
Mhm.
you know, I think people feel that they're safe. So it makes it a lot easier for companies to kind of be less transparent about it. And, it makes others feel as though this is not a cry, that should be an outcry for concern amongst the public, what is really going on, and asking the what and the whys and the hows. How is this happening? As I said, I mean, I've given reasons, but they're really just excuses as to why this really is happening. And from an HR perspective, HR should be front and center trying to figure out the how and the why, because their role is specifically to ensure that data is safe, employee data, because it even mentions one of the times that it was hacked that you mentioned, employee information was taken,
Yeah.
So it started with employee information and then it continued to happen, right?
Right.
Even though customer information was supposedly taken, how was that employee information used? You see what I'm saying? To gain
Hmm.
access to what? You know?
Right.
And so that's what I mean when I say that there's definitely more to this. And it's just kind of being presented in a way that is
Yeah.
very nonchalant
Yeah,
and not.
they're trying to downplay it a lot.
I feel that there's more to it. And with that being said, HR should be front and center and answering these questions because their employee information was a part of it. And how, there needs to be not an internal investigation, but someone from the outside coming in and investigating,
Hmm.
the party, and asking the what, hows, and whys of how employees are accessing information, the amounts of times that they're accessing it, the type of information that they're accessing, are people given the right credentials? They deserve these credentials. It definitely needs to be a thorough investigation, to narrow down the actual cause of this and the why of it. What is to try to understand what is really being, sourced. What is the focus of this?
Yeah, you bring up a great point when the distinction between customer data and then T-Mobile
Mhm.
employee data. So now those are two very two different things because when we're talking about T-Mobile customer data, now you're talking about access
Yes.
within T-Mobile systems. Yeah, customer data, not to it's still a big thing, of course, affecting customers and their information, but where if they're getting T-Mobile employee information, now you're talking about like super user accounts, root accounts, the employees who have very deep access within T-Mobile systems, and you know um, you know so now you have to consider like who maybe they targeted within T-Mobile's infrastructure, um, users, T-Mobile employees who have, very high level access, who was targeted, and
Mhm.
what systems did they get access through a hacked T-Mobile employee account. So that is something very much to consider.
Mhm.
Uh, whatever data they extracted, it's not going to be on the same level as a customer of T-Mobile, because
Yeah.
a customer is not going to have access
Yeah.
to T-Mobile's databases and servers and what have you. Yeah, that's a whole different story now. But yeah, there's not much information. They're being very vague as to
Yeah.
when it comes to that. So yeah, there could be more. And given that they're repeatedly getting into T-Mobile, or
Yes.
where they still using that employee's information to get back in.
Yeah.
Just some things to just kind of to consider just throwing up, because that, like I
Yeah.
said, they're not really giving much information as to what exactly, or more specifically, what happened, or how it's happening. Like
Yes.
what is the cause for this? So
I think
It was,
something else that's interesting, I think you said that the ransomware was like $270,000. To me,
mhm.
that is significantly low for a ransomware. I just feel like for this billion-dollar corporation, I'm just that in itself is a little weird to me, and I feel like I don't know. I just feel like that doesn't I don't know. I don't know. I feel like even with that is a little vague and like there's more to it than that. That just seems very, very low for ransomware and consumer information. And
Yeah,
I don't
for a company like T-Mobile, I thought they would at
yeah,
least
I feel
go
like
a
that's
million.
significantly low. I'm not giving any advice to anyone out there
Right.
committing crimes. I'm just saying, from most, I just feel like that's a little low. I feel like, is that really what was paid? Was that really paid? Was
Mhm.
that, I just feel like there's more questions there. I feel like there's more questions when it comes to all of this. And transparency is definitely needed with consumers and within the workplace, with those investigating and all of that. And really rooting down and tracking, backtracking access and all the different files and information and all of that type of stuff, how it's going about. There's definitely more to this that will come out later, I'm very sure of.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. So, T-Mobile customers out there, or you thinking about joining T-Mobile, I don't know. Do your research. That's all I'll say
Yeah.
before you decide. And with any, not just T-Mobile, but
Yeah.
any, like I said, any organization, any company you deal with, any company that you have to exchange very sensitive information with, yeah, do your research, do some background. Don't just take them at face value. Definitely do your own digging, because at the end of the day, it's your if something happens, it's your information that's being exposed.
Yeah.
So that just something to consider, as whether you create an account with whomever, just something to think about. So
Mhm.
I think that's a wrap. That's a wrap for this week. Um, Definitely look forward to any interaction or conversations that may stir up from this. But we'll see. We'll see if there's anything more that comes of this, and I really hope there's no more new attacks.
Yeah,
Because
right.
they're trending in the wrong direction. So hopefully this is the last one, and they just do their work to recover. But
Yeah.
we'll see. All right. Well, Dr. Lisa, you have any last comments before we head out?
All right, all right. I think I'm just going to close with what needs to be said. And I think I will continue to say and make it a point to say from here on out that cybersecurity is an HR issue. And that's it.
Mm, yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.